I'm curious to know who the other candidates were, but the fact that that's the very first WNBA player to ever win Time Magazine Athlete of the Year is pretty special. And my question is, like the criteria, is it based off of her performance on the court, which, yeah, she had a great year, or is it more about the impact that she had on the game this season?
Was it the new WNBA commissioner who suggested that the entire WNBA should have been on the cover of the Time magazine honor for Caitlin Clark, Marvin?
It was the owner of the Washington Mystics.
Oh, okay. Yep. So I don't know who this person is, but felt like if you're going to celebrate the WNBA, why not celebrate it with everybody in the WNBA or some of the bigger stars and Caitlin Clark? But if you're Time's Person of the Year, it's not the People of the Year. It was a Person of the Year. Can't we just acknowledge Caitlin Clark changed the WNBA?
I'm going to give Caitlin Clark her flowers. Yes, I said that.
The record-breaking deal that changed everything. Let's take you back to the moment that shook the sports world. Picture this, a quiet Tuesday morning when suddenly, social media explodes with news that would change women's sports forever. Caitlin Clark, the basketball phenomenon from Iowa, just landed an LPGA deal that had everyone's jaws on the floor. But here's what most people don't know. This wasn't just any sponsorship deal. Industry insiders suggest the deal could be worth upwards of 8 figures, making it one of the largest crossover sponsorships in women's sports history. But what makes this truly fascinating is how it all came together behind the scenes. Sources close to the negotiation reveal that multiple major sports organizations were actually competing for Clark's signature, creating a bidding war that nobody saw coming.
There's a lot of other shit going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new
it's
shit's going on around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah, Melissa.
What you said, there's a lot of shit going on. What kind of things do you feel?
I'm not in the locker room.
Okay.
When was the last time we saw major organizations fighting over a female athlete sponsorship rights? This wasn't just about basketball anymore. This was about changing the game entirely. Now let's talk about Sheryl Swoopes, but not just as a basketball legend. Many of you might not know that before Swoopes became the first woman to have a Nike signature shoe, she was working at a bank to make ends meet while training. That's right, one of the greatest basketball players of all time was balancing a 9-to-5 job with her professional dreams. When news of Clark's deal broke, Swoopes' reaction wasn't just about the money. It was about 25 years of memories, struggles, and battles that most people never saw. Let me share something that rarely gets mentioned. During Swoopes' prime, she had to fight just to get proper basketball shoes for games. The same basic equipment that male players took for granted was a constant struggle for women's teams. But here's where it gets really interesting. In a recently resurfaced interview from 1996, Swoopes predicted this exact moment. She said, "Someday, a young woman will come along and break down all these barriers at once." What she couldn't have known was just how prophetic those words would become. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about this massive shift in women's sports? Are we witnessing a true revolution, or is this just a one-time phenomenon? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep this important conversation going. And here's something special for all of you who stayed with us until the end. We're doing a giveaway of signed merchandise from some of the biggest names in women's sports. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below with your favorite moment from women's sports history to enter. Remember, the future of sports isn't just about who's playing, it's about who's watching, supporting, and believing in these incredible athletes. Until next time, keep breaking barriers and supporting women's sports. The numbers that will shock you, breaking down women's sports evolution. Let's dive into some numbers that will absolutely blow your mind. But stick with me here. These aren't just dry statistics. These numbers tell a story that nobody's talking about. And trust me, it's going to make you see things differently. The salary revolution. Remember when WNBA players were making less than retail workers? Here's something that'll shock you. In 1997, the WNBA's maximum salary was just $50,000. Fast forward to today, Caitlin Clark's potential earnings from endorsements alone could exceed $3 million in her rookie year. That's a 6,000% increase in earning potential. But here's the crazy part, the average WNBA salary is still only around $102,000, while the average NBA player makes $8.5 million. Let those numbers sink in for a moment. The viewership explosion. But here's where things get really interesting. The 2024 NCAA Women's Basketball Championship game, it pulled in a mind-boggling 18.7 million viewers. To put that in perspective, it beat the men's championship game by 4.1 million viewers, surpassed every NBA Finals game from the previous year, drew more viewers than the last World Series game.
What she has done for women's sports and basketball, and to have her at our golf tournament, I'm in awe. I got a basketball. I'm hoping she signs it for my girls. But it's just really cool to see her coming out. I've seen her swing. I think she has a great swing and she has potential.
World Series game matched the viewership of popular primetime TV shows. And get this, when Sheryl Swoopes was playing her final college game, the viewership was less than 3 million. We're talking about a 523% increase in audience engagement. The sponsorship game changer. Now, let's break down what's really happening with sponsorship deals. 1996, Nike's first women's signature shoe, Sheryl Swoopes, $150,000 deal. 2008, Candace Parker's rookie endorsement, approximately $3 million. 2016, Breanna Stewart's rookie year, $5 million in endorsements. 2024, Caitlin Clark's projected first-year earnings, potentially exceeding $10 million.
I was once that little Iowa girl who was inspired to dream big, real big. And that dream was more than women's basketball. It was possibility that I turned into reality. I'm still that girl from Iowa, but now it's my turn to inspire. If I can drop 40, you can drop 50. If we can draw 56,000 fans, you can draw 57. If I can sign with Gatorade, you can too.
But here's the shocking part that nobody's talking about. While these top deals are skyrocketing, only 3% of all sports sponsorship money goes to women's sports. Yes, you heard that right, 3%. The social media impact. The digital revolution has changed everything.
You guys didn't actually have to carry the bags.
No, I know. I was excited.
You wanted to.
I was going to give you some pointers.
Hey, I was counting on it. You guys, you want to hit one of my shots for me?
No, I'm too nervous when it's too much people.
Hey, I almost nailed one of them.
Have you learned the club tour yet?
Nah, I'm not coordinated enough for that.
This means women athletes are actually generating more meaningful connections with their followers, despite having smaller audiences. The investment gap. Now brace yourself for these numbers. Average NBA team value, $2.86 billion. Average WNBA team value, $43.75 million. NBA annual marketing budget, $150 million per team. WNBA annual marketing budget, $1.5 million per team.
We're obviously marketing around all of our players, but I think Caitlin's lifting everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Our arenas are packed, our viewership. I mean, this is a key part of why I was hired, is to look at how to bring in new viewers, new fans, the demographic. We're one of the most diverse demographics in sports, both on the court and now our viewership.
Yeah, it rocks, by the way, when you're in the stadium. We went and loved it.
But here's the plot twist. When equal marketing dollars are spent, women's sports actually show a higher return on investment. Studies show that women's sports sponsorships generate 15% higher brand recall, 24% higher purchase intent, 32% higher brand loyalty. The youth sports revolution. Check out these numbers from youth sports. 2000, 1 in 27 girls played organized basketball. 2024, 1 in 13 girls play organized basketball. Increase in girls' participation in golf, 383% since 2020. Number of girls playing multiple sports, up 212% since 2015. Breaking down Clark's impact. Since Clark's emergence, Women's college basketball ticket sales went up 375%. TV ratings for regular season games went up 219%. Social media engagement with women's sports went up 492%. Merchandise sales went up 847%. Broadcast rights values, international market growth, equipment sales trends, facility investment comparisons, career longevity statistics, educational impact metrics, economic multiplier effects, regional market variations, the future in numbers, industry projections suggest.
And today, I have two. I am going to give Caitlin Clark her flowers. Yes, I said that.
Oh my God.
No. But, and I'm not going to put it together. I'm going to give Caitlin her flowers because I think what she has done coming into this league absolutely has brought more eyes, whether you like them or not, but has brought more eyes, more marketing. Like, people just want to watch the game and they want to talk about it. Even those that don't know anything about it, they talk about it.
Women's sports media rights could reach $1.5 billion by 2025. Sponsorship values expected to increase by 527% in next 5 years. Potential for women's professional leagues to expand by 300%. Youth participation projected to double in next decade. Remember to hit that subscribe button if these numbers shocked you as much as they shocked me. And let me know in the comments which statistics surprised you the most. The cultural impact nobody saw coming. But this story goes way beyond just sports and statistics. Let me tell you something that happened just last week that perfectly illustrates how deep this cultural shift really goes. A small sporting goods store in Iowa, the kind that had never bothered to stock women's jerseys before, suddenly found itself with lines around the block. Why? They'd managed to get their hands on a limited supply of Caitlin Clark merchandise. But here's the really interesting part. It wasn't just young girls in those lines. There were businessmen in suits, elderly couples, and even hardcore NBA fans who traditionally had never watched a women's game.
What's your take on the revenue sharing situation?
In a lot of areas, the WNBA tries to do things like the NBA in their business plan, except that, let's just be honest, right? I feel as though we should not have a cap. And I also think maybe to get to that point, maybe we have to de-unionize. As a league, we're setting ourselves up to look like a charity. We're paying our coaches more than our star players. We're paying our GMs more than our star players. I think that the way you have the product on display says a lot about the product. So even the pricing of the app, it's like $14.99 or $29. What is that saying? Like a product. Even the jerseys, right? I went to Chicago and it's like, can't find my jersey, can't get my jersey, can't buy my jersey. There's no production of my jersey. Right, won the championship. People still can't find my jersey in an entire season.
The social media revolution. Speaking of cultural impact, let's talk about what's happening online. The hashtag Women in Sports has seen an unprecedented surge, with over 2.3 billion views on TikTok alone. But it's not just about likes and shares anymore. We're seeing something entirely new. Major brands are shifting their entire marketing strategies to focus on women's sports.
What do you think the league needs to continue to do to invest in the WNBA and its players?
At the end of the day, my main issue is with the CBA. I know, NECA and the Players Association, they did such a great job of getting us a new collective bargaining agreement, but we have owners at the moment that want to do more for us and give more for us, i.e. this Becky Hammon situation, which I think is amazing, that there's owners in the WNBA that want to pay us, which is close to, the whole salary cap in the WNBA. Becky Hammon is getting $1 million a year. The salary cap is 1.4, I think. So it's tough to know that few of us are already taking a salary cut to play here in the WNBA. I've been vocal since day one.
Here's a story that hasn't been widely reported. 3 major Fortune 500 companies recently pulled their Super Bowl advertising budgets to redirect them toward women's sports programming. Industry insiders are calling it the Clark effect. Behind the scenes, the untold stories. Now, let me share something that very few people know about. Before this LPGA deal was announced, there's actually a fascinating series of events that took place behind closed doors. According to sources close to the negotiations, who had to remain anonymous for obvious reasons, At least 7 other major sports organizations were trying to secure similar deals with Clark. But here's where it gets really interesting. 2 of these organizations had never previously sponsored a female athlete. Not once in their entire history. Think about that for a second. The ripple effect in college sports. The impact on college sports has been nothing short of revolutionary. Let me give you an example that perfectly illustrates this. A small Division II college in Minnesota recently reported that their women's basketball tryouts had to be extended from 1 day to 3 days because of unprecedented turnout. The number of young women showing up, nearly 300% higher than last year. The business revolution. But let's talk about something that's really turning heads in the business world. Traditional sports investors, the kind who wouldn't have given women's sports a second look 5 years ago, are now scrambling to get involved. Here's an exclusive insight. 3 major venture capital firms have recently created dedicated funds specifically for women's sports investments. We're talking about billions of dollars in potential funding that simply didn't exist before. The global perspective.
Caitlin, you liked an Instagram post last night from Taylor Swift that got a lot of attention. And I'm just curious if you could tell us what that post meant to you, and if you are in fact potentially going to endorse Kamala Harris. Thank you.
I think for myself is, I have this amazing platform, so I think the biggest thing would be just to encourage people to register to vote. I think for myself, it's the second time I can vote in an election. At age 22, I could vote when I was 18, so I think do that. That's the biggest thing I can do with the platform that I have, and that's the same thing Taylor did. And I think continue to educate yourself.
Now, here's something fascinating happening on the international stage. Countries that have traditionally dominated men's sports are suddenly finding themselves playing catch-up in women's athletics.
Secretly, Kyrie Irving probably still thinks the Earth is flat.
Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely not.
Does Sheryl Swoopes actually take emotional?
After seeing the success of athletes like Caitlin Clark, they've just announced a complete overhaul of their women's sports programs with a budget increase of over 400%. The technology game changer. Something that's rarely discussed is how technology is playing a crucial role in this revolution. New broadcasting technologies are being developed specifically for women's sports, designed to capture the unique aspects of their games. Did you know that artificial intelligence is now being used to track and analyze women's basketball plays in ways that were never possible before?
And people that came well before today's game, they were skilled. They were incredible. The spotlight is now enhanced, and give these women credit. They have certainly elevated the game. But there are some truly, truly great players that could play today that played yesterday.
And you know what? And I love the way that you said piggyback, because in no way, shape, or form am I not appreciative of where the game is at and the exposure, because we get exposure. Everybody forgot Lynette Woodard until Caitlin Clark.
This is leading to insights that are completely changing how the game is played and viewed. As we wrap up this incredible story, let's take a moment to appreciate just how far we've come. From Sheryl Swoopes playing in near-empty arenas to Caitlin Clark commanding multi-million-dollar deals, the landscape of women's sports has been completely transformed.
The WNBA is generating a lot of media attention that it didn't before. It always deserved to have this media attention when you look at the skill set, the icons that have come through the game. But sometimes the media needs to be drugged into covering something by a personality, by a rivalry, by whatever, the same way the NBA took off with Magic and Bird. I mean, it's very similar with her and Angel Reese. And so we're at a really good, healthy point in terms of attention and eyes that are on the league. The unhealthiest parts of this are the debates and the conversation.
But here's the thing, this isn't just about sports anymore. This is about changing the entire conversation around what's possible. Every young girl watching today isn't just seeing an athlete, she's seeing proof that the ceiling can be shattered. Before we end, I want to hear from you. What do you think will be the next big breakthrough in women's sports? Drop your predictions in the comments below. And if you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who cares about the future of sports, so hit that subscribe button and join our community of forward-thinking fans. Remember, what we're witnessing isn't just a moment, it's a movement. And the best part, we're just getting started.